All right, we are live for the Mike and Mario show. Looking forward to connecting. It's been a minute, but we are here nevertheless. So I'm excited to be back. Mario, hope everything's well. What's going on your side of the waters, my friend?
Yes, everything's well here as well. We haven't been together for a while, I guess, the Mike and Mary show. And over here, things are moving along. The economy also slowing down. I was reading today that we've had the most companies file for bankruptcy
Mm,
uh, since records have been kept in 1960.
really?
So with the U.S. GDP also turning negative for the first quarter, I
Mhm.
think the world's going back into a recession, and I don't think it actually ever came out of a recession.
Same here. I don't think other than the response, the emergency response. They literally they injected trillions to try to revitalize the economy, but it only just drew things out a little longer. But we haven't had any accommodative policies since last spring. I think that was substantial that went right into the people's hands for whatever it was worth. So yeah, we're running on fumes, and here we are now. We're seeing the consequences of their actions. But we're gonna dive into that. But welcome everybody to the live stream. Definitely, if you're new, let me know where you're watching from, and then also let us know via chat, and we would definitely love to hang out with you a little bit. So throw thoughts, ideas, questions out there. We got 5, 6, 7 different stories to jump on, all relevant to what's going on, because the mainstream media will have you look that way. Well, in actuality, you should be looking that way, and so it's a tug of war for your attention. But we know that things are shifting, and the best place to be is in things that you own outright and have access to, preferably. And of course, we can't help but talk about gold and silver. That's just how things go. So I want to jump in, Mario. I sent you that chart there. And so I want to get your thoughts on it just because it caught my attention. And let me put it on the screen here. Oops, wrong one. We'll get to that in a
Sleepy
second.
Joe.
But just this chart, real quick. I'm not a TA guy, but I do recognize when there is a breakout or breakdown of some kind. I want to definitely bring it to our people's attention. But the gold to silver ratio, what's the probability in your estimation that we see that all time high again, where gold completely goes banana and silver just goes through the floor, or what? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that spike there was in March 2020, and it was gold also dropped, but silver dropped a lot quicker. It dropped to
Yeah.
below 12. I think there is a possibility, of course, that we could go higher because we've broken through the 80 level there,
Mhm.
which is important.
Yeah.
But as you go back further, it looks like where we are right now
Mhm.
used to be support as well.
Mm.
So it might be tough for it to break through there, but anything's possible.
Yeah.
Yes, and we want to see actually that chart going down
Mhm.
because in a precious metals bull market, silver usually outperforms.
Yeah.
So maybe we're going to have another few weeks or another month of back and forth in the precious metals, and
Yeah.
until silver really starts outperforming, we won't really be able to see gold make new highs.
Yeah.
But this is in US dollars.
Mhm.
And gold is not just traded in US dollars. It depends where you live. For
Right.
example, here in the UK, we are only about, I would say, 50 pounds off the all time high.
Mhm.
In Japan, it's like at 250,000 yen at all time highs.
Right.
And even in euros and Swiss francs, it's starting to move. And we've comfortably above the 2011 highs in all currencies except the dollar.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that the dollar is like going to remain really strong. It just means that the dollar is the best of a bad bunch,
Right.
and it joins the sinking a little later. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we need to see silver uh, pick up again.
Right. And speaking of which, we talked a lot about, fiat currencies that, the dollar is stronger. So I'm hearing people talk about, Brent Johnson's milkshake theory. Is it coming true? And then, of course, the ruble has strengthened significantly since Putin decided to announce all of his, recent announcements to getting paid in his own currency for his own sake. But I want to share with you just this visual aid here, and then we'll jump into some other things. But here is the Russian ruble in silver terms. And so along with the strengthening of the ruble itself as the fiat version, it looks like the price of an ounce of silver in the rubles have also trended down as well because of the strength of the paper version of their currency. So, yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's just a reflection of the fact that the dollar went up to like almost 150 rubles, and now
mhm,
it's the dollar is back. I think it traded below 70 today, so
mhm,
that's not really a reflection of the the strength or weakness of the silver market.
right.
But maybe talking about the ruble and paying for commodities in rubles, just
Mhm,
wanted to add that I saw a tweet today by Paul from the Sirius Report, and
mhm.
apparently the Greeks have decided to start paying for uh, natural gas in rubles
Really?
to Gazprom. So I think that's significant. Maybe we should talk about that headline we saw uh,
Yeah,
today or recently. I think it was today
definitely.
about the fact that the Russians are considering uh, pegging the ruble to gold. I think that's very significant.
Right. I think it's a game changer, 100%. Because while the West is, talking about, military conflicts and Biden over here, 33 billion, 1 point some billion, billions to support Ukraine, Russia's moving forward with actually, shaking up the monetary order. And so with this possibility with something, so this could be that event that I've been talking about on my side of as well as yourself that could happen this year. That will be the switch being flipped on to where when the switch is flipped on officially, the world will you will have no choice but to recognize the importance of gold in the monetary order. And so it's just a matter at that point what comes next. So definitely China will make an announcement, and then the whole BRICS announcement will be made. So it's going to be a lot of fireworks put like that at that time.
Is it any wonder that the West, NATO, the US, the UK are trying so hard to keep this conflict going,
Mm-hmm.
and to Joe Biden admitted a few weeks ago, maybe inadvertently, that they are seeking regime change,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I think it's all got to do with gold,
Right.
because Russia is not Libya or Iraq. Russia, even though it's only the 10th biggest economy,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like a continent. It's probably the richest country in terms of natural resources.
Right.
It's also got a very strong military, and if they peg their currency to gold, like you said, it's a game changer.
Yeah. Now with this article here from Ron Manley, uh, just gold and commodities. Using the word and commodities, signifies that there'll be a basket of some type of real world assets that will be used to reestablish a measurement that will determine value moving forward. So, in your estimations, because this is all just it's speculative as of now until it's officially confirmed. But in your opinion, how would this basket shape out? Gold, silver, oil, wheat. I mean, what type of basket do you think would be something to start the system over again with, in your estimations?
Personally, I don't think a currency should be backed by other commodities than gold and silver. And why is that? Well, because wheat, oil, and other commodities, they're mostly consumed, so they're not money. So when you get droughts or like any other event that affects supply and demand of those commodities, their prices or their value get very volatile, and they don't want a currency backed by commodities like that.
Mhm.
And the reason why gold has been money is because all the gold that's ever been mined historically is still above ground and hasn't been consumed. Maybe a tiny bit that they used for the spaceships, but the stock to flow ratio is 84 years. So there's 84 years of production, and that's what makes gold really a stable store of value. So I'm not sure how adding other commodities to the ruble
Mhm.
to a basket. I'm not sure how that would work, but it would, I guess, be definitely a better thing than having a fiat currency
Right.
backed by the whims of politicians and central bankers. At least the ruble would be backed by real things. But I think eventually realize that you only really need gold,
Right.
and silver could also be part of the equation, and silver would be more of the general public's currency. Maybe we'll go back to having some silver coins circulate. Who knows? And I think the Russian central bank is one of the few banks that has silver as well, silver holdings.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I had an interview with an actual former Federal Reserve, globally systemic important bank employee last week, and it was I tend to reach out to people just to cover my grounds to make sure I try to just not be biased towards my own viewpoints and opinions, and also it's how I learn. And so I was in talking with him. He basically talked about gold and how a gold standard is not doable. And just to piggyback on, I'll just show you a little bit of this. This is the guy here, Richard Field. And it was a great discussion because, I tried to throw some curveballs, and he clearly wasn't feeling me from the Austrian school of things, but it was a good discussion. But anyway, his point was going back on the gold standard, and the fact that gold, the primary reason why gold standard didn't work, according to him, is that, there's always going to be new discoveries. And and of course, with greater technology now, that leads to more discoveries of gold, i.e., more gold being mined, therefore expanding the monetary base of gold in the format of like currency creation, things like that. And so when you mentioned about not having a basket of commodities, what came to my mind is to possibly reassure, you got your gold, you got your silver as anchors. But then again, other real world assets like wheat, corn, things that people consume, somehow, some way, come out with a measurement for that to include as well. Could work because you have India, China, all the major producing nations being forced not to just run to gold and silver. They also got to produce stuff, i.e., stuff that the world can consume. So diversifying a little bit might offer something new rather than just have gold and silver solely, because if that is the case, then everybody mama gonna start mining more. Technology is more advanced.
Yeah, but so he's basically saying that if we go on the gold standard, it will be inflationary because people are going to be mining.
It could, and then of course,
I don't agree with him.
People love using the asteroid. We're going to hit you here with an
asteroid. I don't agree with him because I've got a book here, Germany's Gold from the Bundesbank, and according to the U.S. Geological Society, there's only about 20 years worth of gold reserves still underground to be mined. And if you look back at the gold rush in California in 1849, yes, they found a lot of gold there, and it did create higher prices, but only in California. Around the world, it didn't really have an inflationary impact. So I don't really agree with him. And the fact is, by having 84 years of stock to flow ratio, even if you find a big discovery of gold, it's not going to impact the value of gold. So I don't agree with him on that. The other argument Keynesians have is that there's not enough gold, which is also a fallacy because there's always enough gold. It just depends the ratio of 1 gram to the other commodity or other goods. So there is enough gold. But I'm open-minded to this basket idea of commodities for a currency. But I think eventually people will realize that it doesn't work. That you have to really a currency can only be backed by money, really, because that's what it is. A currency you need to be able to extinguish the debt, because a currency is a debt. It's like an IOU, and you can only do it with gold and silver. You can't like take a drop of oil and say, here, there's your payment. It doesn't work like that.
So watch this. So a part of that equation. So once again, I'm not a bit challenging, like that. I agree. We did whatever it is has to be real rather than digital and paper and something that is centrally controlled by banks that can be brought into existence at the whim. Okay. Now, one of the things that serves as well is the fact that it's going to be something real to start, but then again, it puts the handcuffs on Russia and China to be able to further expand and continue to enslave us. So this is not about freeing humanity. This is about getting away from the petrodollar system. And then we'll go into the next world order of things that has nothing to do with giving us options of, being able to have our own privacy. But my point is, there's going to be some type of digital connection to that. So no matter whatever it is, gold, silver, coin, copper, coin, whatever, it's not going to be moved back and forth. I don't think it's going to be the digital representation of it.
Of course. I mean, if you go back to the 19th century, the paper is just a currency that represents an amount of gold, and you're able to present it at the bank and get the gold. I guess digital currency is more efficient. But I think it should be backed by something, because if it's not backed by something and you can't redeem it, it's going to be just as bad.
Right.
And one thing I would say, we're talking here about Russia and whether they're going to flip the switch with their move to a gold-backed ruble.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to tell people that's not the reason why I've been stacking gold and silver, because I'm waiting for someone to go back on a gold standard. I think even if it doesn't happen, it doesn't change anything, because it actually makes it even more important that you have gold and silver, because it means if they don't go back on some kind of honest standard, they're going to keep inflating even more.
Right. And no matter what, it's going to be done through debt and deficits from here on out until we're into something new. But yeah, just everybody who's plugged in now know the importance of gold and silver. So it's not like we're preaching to the choir on this one, because they are awake and aware. And so there's more things that's trying to divert our attention away from real world issues, which is let's talk a little bit about what's happening over in Asia. And so they are extremely harsh on how they're treating their people over there, to the tune of millions still on lockdown. And of course, you mentioned earlier about you think this having something to do with the real estate contagion and all the other issues is over there. But I have my thoughts on it as well. But what made you equate the Evergrande debacle to the current lockdown situations, how they're somehow correlated or intertwined? What made you say that?
Well, do you remember in 2019 September, the repo market exploded?
Yeah.
Our economies in the West were going to collapse.
Yeah.
So they started COVID, and they locked us down. And it was quite draconian here. It was much more draconian in the West than in China. Look at Australia, what they did in Australia and Canada. And now, last year, Evergrande started teetering. And for the last few months, we haven't heard much about that. But I think it was very significant. And now the Chinese economy is coming to a screeching halt. And what better way to distract the populace than to do what we did after our own economic meltdown, because there was a meltdown in 2019. I think the system came within, probably, if they hadn't started not QE again in 2019, the whole system would have imploded. So maybe the Chinese are doing the same thing we're doing. Who knows what the agenda is?
Right. And so based upon information surfacing, I just typed in real quickly where you were speaking, I typed in China supports economy, and fresh releases today given to us in the Western media is that they're definitely boosting. They're trying to support to boost markets. So they're definitely trying their best to keep this thing from going belly up in its entirety, because I think those lockdowns, I've seen enough videos to show that, people are not, being forced to stay in the house with ease. They're out in the streets right now. I'm seeing grocery store shelves, video footage is empty. And so I'm thinking, like, how can an event like that just stay contained over there? It has to make its way this way. And I think the whole closure of the economy, the ports closed. I mean, the West is going to feel the pinch, but it's always a lagging effect, of course. But yeah, after the midterms here, heading into 2023, I think we can feel the repercussions of a Asian lockdown, perhaps.
The supply chain is going to be affected again, because even though the world's trying to move more its supply chains more domestically, we're still very dependent, I think, on Chinese goods. You just have to look at the labels on stuff you buy. Still, a lot of it is made in that part of the world.
Right, 100%. So, as always, for those tuning in, I did see some thoughts and ideas out there. Somebody said we're avoiding their questions, so we're not. We're just that when we're ranting back and forth, we don't tend to look in the chats as things are unfolding. But let me jump on this right here. So, WBPT podcast says, wouldn't the U.S. have to repay those countries the gold they owe them if they went back to a gold standard?
Can I answer that?
Go ahead, jump on it.
Technically, the U.S. Suspended the convertibility of the dollar to gold temporarily, actually, if you look at the Nixon comment. And at the time, it was $35 an ounce.
Yeah.
But then the Congress changed the statutory price to $42.20.
Yep.
So technically, he's right. If the U.S. were to go back on a gold standard, I would say a lot of countries should get their gold at $42.20, but I bet you the U.S. is not going to do that.
No. And so, in actually having to make good on all those receipts that are out there floating, both ledger as well as paper units, I would assume they would probably want to adjust the price. That they would lead the charge in adjusting the price to something more favorable to accommodate, all the quadrillions worth of paper that's out there that we may not know nothing about.
Yeah.
So that means gold per ounce would have to be what, 100,000? I mean, just to get started. Like
the other thing as well, if you go back to 1971 and you look at countries' dollar reserves, and I've looked at that, and divided by 35, it will tell you how many tons of gold they should get or ounces. But nowadays, countries like Brazil and others who had big dollar reserves back then, they're buying gold, I would assume, at the market price. Yeah, so they've been basically screwed.
Right.
America's supposed to have never defaulted, but it has really. They promised something and they haven't fulfilled that promise of $35 for every ounce. They should give these countries 1 ounce of gold for every $35, but they don't anymore.
Right. And one of the reasons that's where I saw people talk about gold and silver a lot, as if something's going to change. And I know that they don't want to lose control of gold and silver price, because if they do, then that means the world will recognize how important it is to have those instruments, and that would thwart their plans of taking us digital. Like it'll slow them down to roll out a CBDC, or even Bitcoin would lose its luster if the world ran back towards gold and silver, because it's something you can hold, minus the counterparties, minus anything else. So they're going to try their best. But then again, manipulation is our friend, because it allows you to continue to do what you do, knowing that. And I always mention, to me, gold and silver in this crazy upside down world are the only things, monetarily speaking, that is stable. Like, I don't care what the fiat price of it is, because, if I went from here to the other side of the world, I'm going to get more fiat units for it.
And your children in 30 years' time, if you leave it to them or give them some, it's still going to be worth something.
Right.
And the other thing I would say, and I forgot now, so
it would be the equivalent of finding a hidden, finding a sunken ship loaded with treasure. It's priceless, Let's touch on Chris real quick. Appreciate you, my man. It says, what will the Fed ultimately do? Save the dollar or stock market? Thanks. Ooh, that's a good one. So I got my thoughts on it. I think as a part of their deliberate desire to transition the world towards this digital realm, they'll let the stock market tank, just because that's where all the illusionary wealth is. That's where the majority of the illusionary wealth is trapped into those instruments. And so it'll be easier to get all, baby boomers, millennials, Generation Z to accept their digital versions of whatever it is, because they've lost everything that's tied into the old legacy system, which makes their transition smoother. They'll take the blame for it, but here in the West, they're going to say it was Russia fault, Putin did it. Then now it's time for us to go, to war, unfortunately, like this national security threat. So, but then the dollar in of itself, that's just, to me at this current moment, it's just a illusionary construct. Like, what is a dollar? Like, other than, okay, go ahead. I can rant forever, but what do you think?
I think your theory is valuable. But the only thing is, yeah, if they let the stock market go, if they hike, they're
Mhm.
also going to let the bond market is going to collapse
Mhm.
too. So, and the fiat dollar is backed by bonds, by treasury. So
Mhm.
you kind of wonder. I don't think even the dollar will survive. So and that's why they will need a digital currency that is not even linked to this present dollar.
Mhm.
And would that be bad for gold and silver? Of course not, because they'd still be around. They'd still be worth. And
Right.
even if they do save the dollar, this will be worth something too, because they're gonna. No, sorry. Even if they do save the stock market and
Mhm.
trash the dollar, this will be worth something. So, and silver as well.
Yeah.
And I guess the only period of time where gold and silver didn't do well was from 1980 to 2000 or thereabouts. And
Mhm.
that's because the monetary system was very stable. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold. But
Mhm.
now it's either going to be very hot or very cold. Um, that's the way I see it.
All right, so get to some more questions. Here's something here from X. It says, question RTD to guest. Thoughts on the food planets fires for Mario? The food plants. So I'm not sure the food processing facilities over here in the US, there's been 18 at the last time I checked, that mysteriously over the last year and a half has fire, like some type of fire took them offline. And so I guess they wants to know your thoughts on that. And are you guys seeing anything like that as far as food facilities in the UK all of a sudden coming up, offline or being taken down or anything like that?
I have noticed these stories about these food plants being burning down in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I think Megan Kelly, she's on YouTube now, and my wife likes watching her. She was talking about that the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the UK, it's not happening. So, yeah, it seems to be a US centric thing. It's not good. It kind of makes you wonder what they're playing at if they want to create a food shortage. I wouldn't put it past them, because, like you said, if they destroy all financial assets and they destroy the food chain,
Mm-hmm.
people are going to be really suffering, and they're going to accept anything for things to get better. And in that case, it would be maybe digital a Fed coin or something like that, and universal basic income to make uh, basically uh, what they want is people to be dependent on the
Mm-hmm.
state. I saw a meme, maybe you saw it, I think last week. They had a picture of all the bison or buffalo piled up, because the US
Oh.
government in the 1870s, 1879, they encourage, with the railroads, it was a lot easier to get there, and people, almost the bison or buffalo almost went extinct. And
Mm-hmm.
what that did is that destroyed the culture for the Native Americans. Because they were so dependent on the bison, and that led them to the reservations to become dependent on the white men, on the state.
Mm-hmm.
And I, why am I talking about that? Well, because I think what they're doing now is similar to that. They want to make the whole population, maybe not you or I or other people who are looking after being self-sufficient, but they want to make everyone dependent. And they
Yeah.
do that by destroying the welfare state, by destroying the dollar and the food supply, to make
Mm-hmm.
people desperate. So that's how I see that food plant burnings. I think it's deliberate. It's too much of a coincidence.
Yeah, and so it's not a coincidence at all. And then you factor in, when you see articles like this, and knowing that this is a part of the agenda as well, lab grown meat and
Ugh.
insects good for a planet and health. So once again, how would this ever make a headline story unless that was their solution to the problem they created by removing real world resources, i.e., food, from us and giving us lab? So there's a lot of more detail. A lot of
Yeah.
the companies that are involved in this, I try to follow, and like they already have a plan as to how they want to basically count our calories in accordance to our credit score and try to balance those out. So that's a part of a plan, definitely. So not coincidental to say the least, but that's where things are heading, huh?
Yeah. I
No, go ahead.
saw here in the UK, Prince Charles, who's the heir to the throne. So
Mhm.
this guy will probably be king. He's calling for cows to wear masks in order to save the planet. That's how crazy people are. I mean, and it's the same kind of stuff, isn't it? And I guess Bill Gates buying a lot of farmland. That's another thing. Is he buying the farmland because he wants to grow food, or
Yeah.
maybe he wants to like not allow people to grow food on them? So he's just buying it to keep it like dormant.
Right. So just to go further on that one as well, this is not like some conspiratorial rabbit hole type stuff. This is like under the surface, real world issues that we are facing that's being worked out right now. So this article here is this is a very lengthy article, but it gives out some details as to the companies and operations that are underway now and how over the last how many ever years, everything we put in our mouth primarily from a store comes from these entities up here in the middle. And they've over time basically bought up the entire industry to where those 10 or so companies control cereals, breakfasts, dinners, and you name it. But it doesn't stop there. And just to go down even further, it just gives more insight as to how a lot of this factors into changing our genetic structure and things like that. So there's companies that's working with the food processing companies, and they're even talking about making mRNA lettuce and vegetables that they will be grown in laboratories and give it to us. So yeah, I can go on and on and on, but this is just information is out there if you want it, but it goes a lot deeper than we're able to touch on this platform here. But
Yeah, and the US is such a big country, but like the meat supply and the
Mhm,
stuff and things like that, it's so centralized. There's not much competition. So if one company goes, the whole US gets affected. Here in the UK, maybe we're lucky that it's maybe not as centralized. Right now, yeah, prices are going up, but we're not having that many problems. I
mhm,
could be mistaken. I think prices are going to continue to go up.
mhm,
I watched this guy the other day. He's got a YouTube channel. He's a farmer in the UK.
mhm.
Harry's Farm is
Yeah,
really good, and he grows wheat and barley, and he said those have gone up a lot. And a lot of farmers who have cows and chickens, they have to buy his wheat and barley.
yeah,
And unless they raise prices, they're going to go out of business. So we can expect prices of eggs and dairy and meat
yeah,
to go through the roof, and it's got these farmers. These kind of farmers are going to suffer, while Harry is doing well because he's just growing wheat and barley, and
right.
he's prices are going up, and he's doing well, and he doesn't have any too many input costs.
Right. Now, I was speaking about input costs. Saw something about, I think is it Spain or some European nations, their price production indexes are through the roof, 30, 40,
Oh yeah,
50%.
yeah, and I
And
think
so
Norway a few was like
Germany, yeah.
almost
So
80%.
those astronomical um measurements there will be passed on
To
to
the
the consumer.
consumer
And
price,
that's
yeah.
the thing. Like, so no matter what, based upon the deliberate withholding and shutting down the economy, there's always going to be a continuous lagging of issues that are at play here. So it's no way around it really, other than just to do as much you can now, knowing that things will only get tighter just because that's how they designed it to happen. So very concerning to say the least. But let's get to some questions or some thoughts or ideas in the chat. So feel free to throw out some things if you guys want to touch on. We can touch on it as long as it's relevant to the subject matter. And yeah, let's get some questions answered if you guys want. Yeah, another thing is, I'm curious, Mario, Elon Musk. Over here, there's a good portion of people that's putting him in the Trump category, saying that he's a libertarian fighting for freedom. I'm more so like puppet, being used by his
Oh,
overseers.
yeah.
But anyway, wait, you see a question?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's see here. Because I follow a guy, and he tweeted out something about Elon. Let me just try to find what he.
Yeah.
Here we go. And I'll just read out. I don't have to share it. Where is it?
Or throw it in a private chat. I'll put it on the screen real quick if it's
Oh,
something like
okay.
that. But yeah, Elon is not here to save the day. He's not here to free us from our financial tech overlords. He's a part of the issue.
Yeah,
I just,
basically what this guy said, I can't find the tweet.
okay.
He said about Elon Musk. He said either he's part of the elite, either he's very naive, something to that effect, and or he doesn't, or he's going to be stopped, something like that. I mean, I think the verdict is still out whether Elon Musk is really, if he's like a kosher, so to speak, if he's a real truther. I
Yeah.
mean, one thing that always bothered me about Elon Musk is that if he hadn't taken bailout money after the '08 crisis from the Obama administration,
Yeah.
Tesla Motors would have gone under. So he's okay taking government help, but then he comes out and comes across as a libertarian. So I don't know. We have to give him. I don't want to judge.
Right.
There's a comment he made as well about that you're going to have to be certify your account on Twitter.
Your account. Yeah, he wants to get rid of bots. So like a part of that means further, and then of course it opened the discussion by politicians here in the U.S. now. They talk about summoning him before Congress. The committee to talk about free speech, privacy, and they're saying they're using this as a way to say that Elon Musk acquiring Twitter could pose a threat towards the misinformation movement because it'll give more people the desire to speak out against the government. And it's like, okay, they're using this as a trap.
Misinformation is a euphemism, I think, for the truth. A lot of times. I'm not saying there aren't people who even in the alternative, you have to be really careful what they tweet out or put out. Sometimes you see a story and it looks like it's now, and you go and you look into it, it's from 4 years ago.
Right.
But I think the Congress and politicians, they're more concerned about the truth, and they call it misinformation. I would say that everyone should be allowed to say what they want, and if they do come out with misinformation, eventually people will realize and they'll lose credibility. I think the only thing you have to draw a line at is when people threaten people with violence online. Apart from that, I think it should be, and also I guess pornography, you don't want that, and stuff like that.
Right. Anything unethical, definitely it should be hindered. But anything other free speech, that's one of the benefits of having free speech is the ability to share your thoughts and ideas unhindered.
But banning people because they're coming out of the story about Hunter Biden's laptops, and the New York Post was
and then it's okay when it surfaces from them. Now it's not conspiracy theory. It's just like, oh yeah, it was not a big deal. Another thing is, I got lots of thoughts. Here's somebody mentioned it. Here's a question or a thought. What are your thoughts on George Soros invested in PolySci? So wasn't familiar with that at all until you just mentioned it, but I appreciate you because I just typed this in and here's something that popped up that I don't know what it is, but George Soros' investment in PolySci suggests crypto market 350 times X in the coming decade. So I just put Soros and the crypto market all in the same camp. It doesn't surprise me whatsoever because a lot of those crypto projects are in bed with the World Economic Forum. So they all run in the same circles in a sense. And there's no freedom on the other side of that equation, in my opinion. So if Soros is in it, he's trying to sucker in this young money so that he can be benefited on the end. But nothing comes from it. Like, I don't think it's nothing just like, oh, let me go ahead and jump in because Soros is in. No, yeah.
Well, I don't even know what PolySign is. So.
Right. I just heard about it for the first time. So there's literally probably 10, 12,000 crypto projects now. So yeah. And you share that video about how to tell a crypto scale.
Yeah, that was from CoffeeZilla. He's very good.
Yeah, that was a good one. The yield farming, the way he described it.
But that's all a lot of these altcoins are. They are Ponzi schemes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all crypto projects are bad, but a lot of them are just, I could start a Billy coin and I might be able to create a market cap of 10 million
Right.
and
Really cool.
rake it in. And but I wouldn't do something like that. But a lot of people are doing it, I think.
Right. And it's the idea that, if you get in early, you can, join the party before, it comes to an end. And hopefully enough suckers are joining on top of you to where you can then you'll see your gains and you cash out. And
Well,
to see
it's
him describe it that way is like, wow.
It's a definition of a Ponzi scheme, isn't it?
Right.
Or a pyramid scheme.
Right. All right, let's keep it going. So feel free. Let me see here. Thoughts. So Mario, if you see anything out there, jump on it. Question wise. Dr. Moda says rumor of a 30% dollar devaluation soon with China Russian trade locks down a scam to isolate USA. Locks down is a scam to isolate USA. No, it's not a scam because they're really punishing their people over there. I think ultimately this is all about the overall agenda in reference to this whole New World Order fiasco of depopulation. So a lot of people will suffer not only financially, but also, unfortunately, there will be a lot of lives lost due to starvation, which is obviously deliberate, as well as the idea of most people equate their value of their human life to their finances. So just like from the Depression, whenever people lose everything, they think they lose everything, they tend to take their own lives. Mental health is a big issue. Being locked down, people take it. So yeah, the goal is to reduce the population overall. Now, how they do it is going to come through many facets as we're witnessing. So anyway, that's my little thoughts. So I'm not sure if you heard about another country. A Central African Republic becomes a second country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. And it's much smaller than El Salvador, but still, I have some very skeptical thoughts on that, but I won't bore anybody with that at this moment. But yeah. What else we got here?
I'm Michael Auto Mario. I just paid the council tax on my new house in the metaverse. Yeah, the metaverse I think is is not real, but they are. I've heard that what they want to do, for example, is get rid of supermarkets and your online shopping. Basically, will be you put these metaverse glasses, whatever, on, and you're actually it feels like you're in the supermarket shopping, and you just pick the things, and that's how you're going to shop. I don't want to live in a world like that, to be honest. Maybe after I'm gone, the future generations will live in the metaverse.
Yeah,
but it's not a world I contemplate.
Right, and that's the thing. It's not even technically not even a world. It's a virtual enslavement, because you're now a part of somebody's computer code, and of course that person is trying to emulate the all-knowing powers of our creator God himself. And so people are forfeiting their natural rights to have dominion in the real world in order to have a fictionary life in a virtual reality. Because
it's like just watching movies all the time, and even reading books all the time. You got to get out into the world. It's just a story. That's all it is, the metaverse.
Right.
And I just there's something nefarious behind it for for big corporations and the mainstream to be going on about it so much.
Right. I look at it, the metaverse concept, it's the introduction of steering humanity into the Matrix. So we had the Matrix series from 20 years ago, where that to me was the eye opener of the desire of not only taking a cell phone, but then making it a part of your life, and then making you the primary product within that virtual world. So it's all about making profit, profiting off of the human life. But then again, they're trying to mess with, actually the human soul, in a sense, by all that type of stuff as well.
Calypso Moon says, Mario, you won't be gone. Your consciousness will be transferred into the metaverse.
And that's the idea of plugging into the network, you're having your consciousness downloaded into some virtual reality on somebody's server. So the Matrix, man, it's a real world.
They can, if I died today, they could keep playing my YouTube videos, I guess, and plug that into the metaverse.
So I would imagine all that stuff is a lot further along than what we're being shown. It's just more so introducing to us in small increments. And the idea of the meta, Facebook going to the meta, and everything.
Important birthday. Henry Kissinger is 100 years old.
Oh,
Okay, so,
congratulations.
yeah.
Uh,
Apparently, did you know that Henry Kissinger was the guy who recruited Klaus Schwab, because Klaus Schwab went to Harvard Business School in
mm,
the 60s.
I did not know
So
that.
there you go. Henry Kissinger, he is originally from Germany, and I think his family immigrated during World War II because they're Jewish.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people, and he's very he was kind of connected to the Rockefellers,
Mhm.
Henry Kissinger, and I think yeah, he not a very nice character, I would say. He's part of the building this. Well, he was the guy who helped negotiate the petrodollar for the Nixon administration.
Mm,
Heinz Alfred Kissinger, that's his real name, you see.
yeah. Oh man, more madness. But let's get ready to draw down. So we got the Fed meeting next week, right?
Yeah,
What are you anticipating? They're going, 50%, 50, 50,
yeah, it looks
55?
like they're gonna raise by 50 basis points. And I think the market has priced that in, but the interesting thing will be to see what they say, their statements, and also the press conference, what Jay Powell is going to say, to how he's going to answer the questions.
Mhm,
If there's a slight hint of dovishness, you could see the dollar go back down quite a bit against the other fiat currencies.
mhm. So yeah, to be determined. But once again, they're not in the business of saving the global economy. They're trying to cover up their own rear end and draw this thing out as long as possible. Because for me personally, it's between now and November. This, what will take place between now and then. And if all this stuff out east with Putin and China doing what they're doing is sincere to disrupt things, then we can expect some type of event between now and November to really shake stuff up. Like if Putin really wanted to get to the U.S., he could do something within that time frame that'll cause November. It'll stall November or force them to do something that we've never witnessed on this side. So I don't know. But in the
Yeah,
meantime, I'm taking advantage of the manipulation, my friends. And
yeah.
also, we'll go ahead.
I think the sanctions that the West try to impose and destroy destroy the Russian economy and
Mhm.
the ruble has completely boomeranged back on the West, because you look at the pound, the yen, uh, the euro, they're all like dropping very quickly, not just
Right,
against the dollar, but against gold.
right,
And I think it's going to boomerang against the US as well.
right.
Eh, And I think gold and silver are going to be a lot higher. And that's one of the main ways that the major reserve currency devalues. It devalues against gold and silver.
All right. Now you say boomerang, and my first thought is like I would assume they knew that intentionally. Like, they can't be that naive to think that by literally trying to ostracize a single country that is valuable to the global economy would
Hmm.
actually just stay contained. So
I think the politicians, they didn't know this.
yeah.
I think there were. I think some people at the Fed like warned against this.
Mhm.
So there were a few people that listened probably to us
Yeah.
at the Fed. No, no, I'm being serious. I think it was kind of mixed. Some people knew that it could boomerang,
Mhm.
but I think they're desperate, so they're trying anything,
Right. And
especially the guy at the White House.
yeah. So we're in with that. But the reason why I think that outside of the politicians doing what they're instructed to do, the ultimate fight is the move away from the petrodollar system and the dollar and everything related to it. So they've been seeing the trajectory over the last several years, and they didn't want it to happen all of a sudden to where now we'll cut off from the SWIFT, whatever, where they know what's on the table. They're just trying to not be in office when stuff hits the fan, so they don't be the ones to take the blame. But all right, but as always, people, it's always good. I'm gonna end. We'll play this clip real quick, and then we'll come
All
back
right.
and have some good laughs with it real quick.
Other ill-begotten gains. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy.
Kleptocracy.
And the guys who are the kleptocracy.
What
Oh,
about
man.
Hunter Biden's ill-begotten
Yeah, I'd have time to download that one. So,
Yeah.
But always, people, it's always good to connect with you. Hope you guys enjoyed the back and forth. And once again, just trying to recap the week and look ahead and just navigate through these choppy waters. But more importantly, you all know what to do. Continue to take advantage of other opportunities while you have them. Be grateful for what you do have. And also make sure you continue to inform others around you so that they are not left behind, because things are happening at a much faster pace these days. And let's just take advantage of the day. Have a great weekend. Mario, anything you want to leave us with?
Same thing. Just keep going. Try to not let all the fear mongering, all the noise take you off living a normal life. You can only do your best.
Right.
And of course, if people do ask for your opinion, try to help them. But some people just don't want to hear things. So just do your best.
Right. I agree. All right, people. Manico64 on YouTube. Rethinking a Dollar everywhere you can find me. Other than that, be blessed, be safe, and have a great weekend. Back at it next week. Peace.